prior to removing the shroud, on the right hand side here you'll have the plug for the outside air temperature sensor, which exists just there, so you'll need to disconnect that. The workshop manual also talks about the garage opening system having a box that sits in here somewhere, so if you've got that you'll need to disconnect that also. With the bumper off, now we can remove the air guide that goes into the condenser. There are a bunch of clips all the way around the perimeter. You just need to look in there, get a screwdriver and just open those up. And I found if you sort of grab on the inside here and pull from the centre, it just pops all those out. It'll just pop straight off. Now I've done this before and I've cleaned all these out, but this was just full of rocks and garbage, even though from the outside it looked reasonably clean, and all around in here and throughout the condenser was just full of gunk. To clean it out properly, you could try and clean it out from here if you wanted to, but the problem is you're going to just blow. If you come from this side, you're just going to blow stuff out to the other side towards the radiator. If you come from this side, there's still going to be lots of gunk around this shroud here that you're not going to be able to remove. So I would suggest removing the shroud. You do that just by this single 8mm screw there. Then there are two lugs. So if you push it in, sort of pull it out a little bit that way, and then push it out, it'll come out of those lugs, and now this can move forward. And you can remove the shroud. Just need to be a little bit careful at the points on the side here, because the back edges of it can touch the radiator behind, but there are sort of two little clips here. It just needs to be pushed rearwards, and that'll slide off, and then this thing will actually pull this way, and up in the tops and bottom here, there is a spot where it can actually slide out. And so we can do that. Now that's come out pretty easily. And the reason for that is on the inside here, there's just a little baby lip on both sides. It's about 0.5 mm high. I've dremeled those off just with a little sanding tool, and that makes it a lot easier to come off. When it's in place, the end piece here sits way back in there, so it's nowhere near where I've sanded it off. It just makes it a lot easier to get the thing off, but especially getting it back on later on, because that lip does get caught on the edges here. And so once we've finished our cleaning, I can put that in place, slide that gently across the back, and then I can push these and slide those into place. And once it's across where that lip was, then it'll just slide across. And then we can push it in there, put it inside these two lugs, and then put that 8mm screw in, and then the shroud or the air guide just pushes straight on and clips into those around the circumference. When you're moving the condenser around, the one on the right hand side, because all the hard lines that go to the back of the car go down the right hand side, so this one on the right hand side you can't pull out too far. There's a bracket on the inside here, which I'll show you in a moment, that you can just disconnect to give you a little bit more movement in it, but you're only going to be able to move it a couple of inches or so. But those hard lines go over to the other side here, and because of that, this one on the left hand side is able to be moved out more easily. On the left hand side, to give you a little bit more movement of that condenser, there's this plastic 10mm sort of funny nut that goes in here. You can just remove that completely, and then that allows that to have a little bit more movement, so you can pull it out a little bit further at the front. And to do the cleaning of the condenser, once that shroud is removed and I've moved it a little bit further forward, I've just put a rag over the radiator behind, so when I blow stuff through, it doesn't end up going into the radiator. So I put a rag there, and then I've just bunched up a big rag and shoved it on the inside, so that sits there a couple of inches away from the radiator, and I can get my compressed air or water or whatever you want in from the back to flush everything out. Of note, on the inside, when you look at the radiator, this one is perfectly clean. It's as though the condenser acts as this really nice filter for the radiator. And whilst it's nice to clean this up and get the condenser working a little bit better, for mine, the most important thing is to clear out all of the fins here to enable good airflow through the radiator behind. You may need to get a small screwdriver if there's lots of things that are bashed around, etc., to straighten those out so you've got good airflow through from one side to the other. Be careful with the pleats, the fins here. They are pretty delicate and it's easy to damage those. And I found, especially when you're working from the inside here, just be careful of the radiator behind. When you're using your compressed air, be careful not to touch these because they're really quite, they bend quite simply. So just be careful with that.